Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened around Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Nuclear threat turned fake. Another successful border breach. Free at last. Vugledar is in critical position. Aircraft carrier error is finished. Inclusive marathon in Ukraine. 3 days ago, I said in a previous video that in addition to 2 large warehouses with artillery shells in the north and missiles from the North Korea in the south, we may have hit another important military facility on Russian territory. Now there are confirmations and photos from the satellite, but the situation turned out to be a little more intriguing than it seemed at first glance. In this photo you see the first confirmation of the explosion, which was published by MT Anderson on Twitter. I will leave a link to the source under the video, and here are other details. This is what Putin scares the whole world with. His nuclear missile RS-28 Sarmat, or as it is also called Satan II, according to NATO classification. This is the super hyper missile which, according to Putin, is capable of wiping the whole world into radioactive ash. For many years they scared everyone by saying that they created a missile that no one else has, and it will make the whole world fear and respect the Russians. According to the stated characteristics, and you know how much everything Russian corresponds to the stated characteristics, this thing is capable of flying 18,000 kilometers carrying a nuclear charge weighing 8 megatons. This is about half the power of the little boy that was dropped on Hiroshima. Well, how capable? Russians would like it to be capable, that would be the right way to say. So when you hear Putin, Medvedev or Lavrov or one of their servants say the phrase red lines, it means that you will get Sarmat missile if, for example, you do something like strike military targets in Crimea, or blow up the Crimean bridge, or sink flagship Moscow, or strike the Kremlin with a drone, or enter the Kursk region, or blow up Russian oil refinery, or what? This is the biggest bluff in history. You know why? They can't even launch this goddamn missile. It doesn't exist in reality. This is just a mock-up that doesn't even fly, like that Armada tank. Do you understand the irony? Putin scared the whole world with a non-working rocket and even believed that if he really wants it, it will fly. This is what happens, kids, when you hire a success coach in Russia. This is what's left on the large silo at the test site where Russians tried to launch this stupid rocket for the fourth time. The fourth time, Carl. This rocket is filled with liquid and it may have exploded at the moment of launch or before launch. This is not a nuclear explosion. As you understand, this is a super secret facility and they will hide all traces of their shame. I had to study this topic deeper to understand the situation. The point is that even if we assume that this thing was supposed to take off and hit Kyiv, it doesn't mean 100% nuclear explosion. Here's why. Firstly, we have air defense, and it will be hard not to notice a 150-ton flying thing. Secondly, if air defense shoots down a nuclear missile, it doesn't mean a nuclear reaction. If a shot-down nuclear missile falls, it doesn't mean a nuclear explosion. Most likely a local nuclear pollution, but not that massive. In order for this to happen, the missile must fly to the designated target and complex nuclear reaction mechanism will work there, and that's assuming if it even takes off. Please, I need a person in the comments who will write, "Don't piss off Putin, we don't need escalation," or "Give Russians all the Ukrainian land or they will use their nukes." This is what happens when the Russians try to do as they say. This is what happens, Larry. I hope you get the reference. Let's put the situation on pause. No, I don't mean freeze the war. Let's just imagine that it's 2022, Putin's reason overcame his schizophrenia and he didn't give the order to attack with all forces. He didn't destroy a third of Ukraine and didn't ruin the lives of millions of people. What would have happened? He could have scared the whole world with nuclear weapons for another 20 years, scared it with his invincible army, sold gas and oil for as much as he wanted so that Europe will be afraid to freeze. He could have just continued to steal Ukrainian oil from the Black Sea and so much more. But sick old man decided to go all in, and it turned out that the king was naked. That's it, I can't write anything better for this blog. This video was filmed some time ago. Here you can see how our 95th Airborne Assault Brigade crosses the Russian border, breaking through a mined area. Of course, no one names the exact location. It is probably the flank somewhere in the Kursk region, where we already control an area of more than 1,000 square kilometers since the beginning of the operation in August. What is interesting here is that at the beginning of the video you see how the meteorite mine clearance system launches a rocket with a cable containing a charge of 2 tons of TNT to blow up a mine section on the road and make a passage for equipment and infantry. Videos of this launcher in action are very rare, and yesterday many Ukrainian sources discussed its use. Earlier I saw one video of the Russians launching this projectile with the cable into the courtyard of a residential building in Mariupol, and it created a huge explosion. Unfortunately, I could not find the video now. Perhaps I'll find it later on my computer, and I'll make a blog in another video. This is what a shot from this system looks like. There is very little information about it on the internet. It's quite rare and old Soviet technology. Perhaps we took it as a trophy. We will follow all the events and wait for the news from this breakthrough. I've already seen information that we took a new batch of captured conscripts there. Apparently their entire area is guarded only by conscripts and mobilized prisoners from Russian prisons. Let's say that they are not the most combat-ready units. Understand correctly, I'm for them to remain alive and be captured. We need prisoners for exchange. Speaking of prisoners of war, this is a portrait of a guy with a call sign Iron I took on Sunday. He's a defender of Mariupol, held the defense at the Azovstal plant until the last moment and went into captivity along with the others following the order from his command. He spent more than 2 years in a Russian prison and was lucky to be among the first fighters of the Azov Brigade who were exchanged this year on September 13. In this photo, he first met Tatiana Tepluk, who was a medic in the Azov Brigade. She's a sweet 72-year-old lady who was also in Russian captivity after leaving the Azovstal plant in Mariupol. I'm so glad to capture this touching moment of their first meeting in freedom. It is so nice that we meet our soldiers from captivity as if they were family, hugging. Also, sometimes we do not even know each other. War divides people and war brings people together. How strange. For moments like this, it makes sense to go to demonstrations every week, and I see that it makes sense to photograph them, because they are literally part of history. The demonstration in Kyiv gathers about 1,000 people now. They are happening in other cities at the same time. Some people don't understand why they should go out with posters calling for the release of prisoners, because Russians don't read the posters or don't care, and it's also dangerous to gather such a crowd during a war. But it is important to tell our people that there is a problem among others. We have tens of thousands of prisoners rotting in Russian prisons. The UN and the Red Cross should see that they need to put more pressure on the Russians to save the lives of prisoners. They need to go to prisons and monitor how these prisoners live, because in our prisons Russians are eating their bellies and Ukrainians are returning home like skeletons, if they return alive at all. From positive news to hard news, this video was filmed near the city of Vugledar in Donbas, which means giving coal. The Russians are trying to take it and will most likely capture it in a few days. This is not pessimism but rather a realistic assessment of the difficult situation. The famous 72nd Brigade of Black Zaporozhets, one of the most combat-ready units, have been stationed in that area for 2 years without rotation. These are super tough guys, but now they are in a difficult situation. Of course, we are doing everything we can at our level of public volunteering, but all the decisions are of course up to the military command. We are monitoring the situation and supplying with everything we can. This small block of video is a reminder that we not only have successes and initiative but also suffer heavy losses along the entire front line. Unfortunately, there is no point in talking about each area. For most civilians and people from abroad, it just merges into one lump, so I highlight the news that will be more or less understandable. Overall, our entire situation is difficult, but we are still holding on. That's it. This is the end for the Admiral Kuznetsov. Russia has officially commissioned its only aircraft carrier, and the crew of this smoking scrap metal has been sent to the front as cannon fodder. What an amazing career Russian sailors have. They tried to fix this ship for 80 years. The news says that it was damaged in 2018, caught fire twice in 2019 and 2022, and hasn't left the dock since then. You know what's ironic? The main problem with this ship is the engines, which Russia doesn't produce itself and can't replace with anything. You might ask why they wouldn't buy new engines where the old ones were made. Because Ukraine built these engines. Ukraine also built aircraft at the Antonov plant, and Ukraine also built turrets for T-72 tanks in Kharkiv. Damn it, this is some kind of joke. Invaders didn't even build anything themselves. In total, the history of the Russian or Soviet Navy, there were only 3 aircraft carriers. Admiral Kuznetsov, with which I began this story, as well as Varyak, which was built from 1985 to 1992 in the Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv and was then sold to China and now has the name Liaoning. And the third nuclear-powered aircraft carrier Ulyanovsk, which was also built in the Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv from 1988 to 1992, where it was then dismantled after the Soviet Union collapsed. That's it, Russia will never have an aircraft carrier. Period. On Sunday, a large inclusive marathon was held in Kyiv, where there was a mixed race with the participation of wounded soldiers who covered a distance of 1 kilometer in wheelchairs and prostheses, and the rest ran with the names of soldiers who are currently undergoing treatment and cannot run. This is such a sign of respect and support. The Nova Poshta postal service will pay for every registered runner, and all the money will be donated for their recovery. I'm glad that such events are taking place and that our society in general is moving towards not having a division with people with disabilities. I want to draw attention to how I shoot this stuff. If you have seen my photos before, you may have noticed that I always try to show what is happening with optimism and some sense of beauty. All athletes with amputations that I photograph always look strong because this is who they are. I do not direct these photos, but of course I choose how to show my heroes, how to frame the shot, so that they will always have dignity and optimism, not evoke pity. People who have gone through difficult battles in the war and survived injuries have a lot to learn. I had a severe physical trauma episode in 2021 where I could have died a couple of times and then spent 50 days sitting and unable to lie down even for sleep. It's incredibly hard, and it takes, at times like this, you realize that the state of your body directly affects your state of mind. When you're limited and in constant acute pain, it leaves an imprint on your psyche. That's why I admire these strong people and really want them to stay optimistic despite everything. They are an inspiration. There have been quite a lot of events since the last video. I have highlighted the main ones and some are still waiting for details. I think I have calmed down a bit and would rather make videos when they come together than just tell something every day without having big news. It's unpredictable and I don't want to tell something just for the sake of talking. There are days like today when the script is written relatively easily and I have time to finish and edit the text of 12,000 or 15,000 characters in 4 or 5 hours between my main work, and then I do the shooting and editing. The process is gradually being optimized step by step. Thanks to everyone who watched these videos. If you want to support the development of this channel, you can find all the links under the video. This was my update on the Russian-Ukrainian war for day 944. The president said that we have become closer to victory and have no choice but to believe it. In any case, every day we are one day closer. This is encouraging. Take care and I hope to see you tomorrow.